The first brand deal was just the beginning. Soon, the apartment became a revolving door of deliveries. At first, it was wigs, then makeup palettes with glittering packaging, then clothes folded neatly with tags that whispered prices neither of us could afford. Parcels stacked against the wall until there was barely space to walk. Our once quiet, modest room turned into a showroom, a cluttered space where cardboard and bubble wrap ruled more than we did. I used to recognize every corner of that room. Now it was unrecognizable, buried under the weight of things that weren't ours, things meant only to be displayed, worn once, and then forgotten. And I was buried with it. My days no longer belonged to me. They belonged to Chica's growing audience. Each morning began with her asking, "What should I post today?" as if my mind were nothing more than a content machine. I carried tripods on my back like a second spine, scouted walls that made better backdrops than they did homes, and adjusted the angle of the sun on her skin as though I had the power to command light. When we walked through the streets of Lagos, people noticed her now. Sometimes they whispered, sometimes they pointed. "That's the girl from Instagram." Some asked for selfies. Others smirked and muttered words sharp enough to cut, "Influencer wannabe." Through it all, she smiled, perfected her wave, straightened her wig. And I carried her bag, her props, her world. Neighbors joined in the transformation. Women who once complained about her noisy laughter now asked what lipstick shade she was wearing. Children who ignored her before now chanted "influencer" when she passed, their voices carrying through the courtyard like a new anthem. I walked beside her, invisible, my presence reduced to a shadow. It wasn't only the outside world. Inside, the imbalance grew sharper. While her phone buzzed endlessly with likes, comments, and brand emails, mine remained silent. Bills piled up in my inbox unanswered. Job rejections slipped into my messages like cruel reminders that while she was rising, I was still sinking. And yet, I couldn't pull away. I told myself I was her friend, her anchor, the one who kept her grounded. But the truth was uglier. I was afraid of being left behind entirely. I clung to her success because it was the only light near me, even as it burned my skin. The humiliations came quietly, in moments small but sharp. At a fashion pop-up in Surrelia, when someone asked if I was her assistant, Chika laughed and said, "She's just helping out." No correction, no acknowledgement that I was her best friend. I smiled weakly, swallowing the shame like bitter medicine. Later that night, when she danced in the glow of her phone screen, replaying videos of herself, I cried silently in the bathroom, muffling my sobs under the sound of running water. Even my body began to betray me. Sleepless nights editing photos on a cheap, glitching phone strained my eyes until they burned red. My back ached from carrying her equipment. Food became an afterthought. Some days I skipped meals entirely, convincing myself I wasn't hungry. My reflection in the mirror grew duller, my cheeks hollow, my shoulders hunched, the physical proof of a life lived in someone else's shadow. And still, she didn't notice. Or maybe she did, but chose not to. Her laugh, the one that made her famous, no longer came freely. It was practiced now, perfected for the camera, played on cue when recording. I missed the real one, the clumsy, unpolished laugh that used to erupt when we gossiped about neighbors or complained about Lagos traffic. I missed my friend. But she was no longer mine to miss. She belonged to the world now, to an audience that demanded pieces of her day after day. And me? I belonged nowhere. Not to her, not to myself. By the time the third parcel of the week arrived, I no longer rushed to help her open it. Instead, I sat on the bed, staring at the unopened box as she squealed in delight, her fingers trembling over the wrapping. She didn't notice I wasn't beside her, didn't notice my silence, didn't notice the way my eyes begged for her to turn and see me. In that moment, I realized something cruel. I had become background noise in her story, the faint hum behind the melody of her life. And nothing I did, no amount of loyalty, sacrifice, or suffering, could make me more than that. But even shadows have their limits. And mine was nearing its breaking point.